Welcome in. It is day 149, and you're speaking to the Meeples Champion. And today, we're going to be going into a roll and write game. This is a German game that I was really excited about. I've been looking into a bunch of roll and writes during the beginning of COVID because I thought these are kind of easy games to play. They have a little variation. Let me see if I can get some dice back into my games. I picked this one up, and it was okay. It didn't hit for me as a physical game, but it did hit for me as an on your phone game. That game is That's Pretty Clever. Now, the idea of That's Pretty Clever is you've got 6 dice. 5 of them are of color, 1 of them's a white. You roll all the dice, and you have to pick what are you going to use as taking the color die and adding it to the white die and then hitting something on the board. Now, the idea is that as you have things that you fill in, you're going to be going from left to right. And for most of these, if you fill something in, you can't go behind it anymore. You have to keep moving to the right. And there's a bunch of different variations. You have the availability to be trying to fill in up top where every time you get 3 greens in a row or a column, you're going to be getting a payout of a reward. You're going to be getting more points. You play the top while also playing the bottom, because whenever you do that, it's going to pay out on the bottom as well, giving you closer and closer to a just normal green reward. You're going to be playing out for your yellows, trying to see if you can try to mark across to be getting closer to a specific number. There's different variations of how you hit these numbers and what they do. A lot of it is trying to ping pong, because what you'll find is that you say, okay, the next time I hit this particular yellow combo, it's going to give a reward of hitting anything I want to choose in green. So I want the yellow. But I noticed in the blue that if I do 2 more of these, that their reward is hitting anything I want in yellow. So if you can kind of connect the dots, you could have a roll where you end up saying, I hit 1 in purple, that's going to now allow me to get the 1 in yellow, that lets me go back over to the green, that lets me go back over to the blue. And all of a sudden on one roll, instead of getting 1 spot, you end up getting 4 or 5 spots. And that's kind of the whole idea of this game, is I'm going to use my combos to try and get as many things filled out as I can. And then at the end of it, whatever you use, the other ones are going to be left over for you to do a combo to then just get an additional strike somewhere. It's an interesting game. I just find that in person, physically, I just don't enjoy trying to figure that game out as much. My wife and I tried to play it. It didn't strike for us great. But then I got it from my phone thinking, it's like $1.99. Let me see. And I loved it on my phone. I played it nonstop for almost a year. It was one of my favorite games there. I got bored eventually, but after 200 or 300 plays, so it definitely didn't run its course quick. But as a physical game, I bought it, I was excited, and it's primarily sat on my shelf for 2 years. It wasn't a big hit. That being said, why don't we jump into our 7 categories and see where this ranks there? When it comes to the art, this kind of reflects what the last week's one was, which is the Warlord chess. It's basically about the color. This is a very colorful game. The cover is all about the multiple colored dice. When you open it up, it's the same thing. The sheets are just all your different color sections and your colored dice, and that's what the game is. It's enough to kind of grab your attention, but for me, it's not enough to retain my attention. I found that once I kind of got into the game, it just wasn't something that kept me coming in. And I wasn't grabbed by the box. I was grabbed by looking up a listing of what they ranked as like the top 100 roll-and rights and flippin' rights. Those are the kind of games I was looking for. So based on that information, for me, I have to give this a thumbs up. So when it comes to your category of the components, you have 2 essential components. You have your dice, which are great. They do a fantastic job, just like every other die I usually rank. It's fine. They're not crumbling apart. It's not like it's hard to read. They didn't mess up the print. All that's fine. But then you have the sheet that you're filling out. And well, it's not horrible. What I like about some of my other roll-and rights is that I got the sheets that are actually able to use the dry erase markers. This is not that setup. So it makes it a little bit tougher for me to be committed to the game, because I have these pieces of paper. It's great for being able to hold on and have like a memory of, hey, here's all our scores. But it's annoying for, if you make a mistake, you can't just erase it and fix it easily. And it's going to eventually run out. I'm going to have to find a way to keep those going. If you're really into the game, it's a hindrance. That being said, most of these games come with paper, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up because it does pass the minimum requirement for me. The price. So this is a game that you'll probably find in a good 3, maybe even 4 of the regular board game stores. I don't think you're going to see this very often in a Barnes & Noble, and it's probably never at a Target, but you might occasionally. Overall, the pricing isn't that bad. This game goes for probably under 20, and you're going to find it online easily enough. I think it's an acceptable price. It's just not a great price. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but it's a shaky one because I do think that this game, for me, in the long term, didn't pay out for the price. If it had been like $5 or $10, I might have been like, whatever. But for like closer to 20, that was a bit much for me for a game that basically sits on my shelf. Your difficulty. The game isn't difficult to play, but it can be difficult to follow. Part of the reason that I like the phone is that when you choose your role, it lights up all your spots for options. So you're not confused as to where you can go. I don't think that you're going to be easily confused, but because unlike other roll and writes where it's pretty straightforward what you're doing, and this one's spread out with 6 different locations, it can be a little confusing sometimes of, wait, what do I actually have for options? And to like really figure it out in every section, you could get a little bit lost in the physical game. And I think that for the game being limited, I'm going to call it limited. It's not that the difficulty is too difficult, but there's not a lot of options for what you can do, and it's a little hard sometimes to even see those options with the way that it's set up. I feel like you're not going to have a kid or a beginner love this game, and you're not going to have an expert love this game. So you really drop down to just those experienced players who might enjoy it, in my opinion. So I have to give it a thumbs down. I don't think it passes there. Your replayability. This game is about replayability. When you're playing it, the likeliness is if you like this game, it's going to be played multiple times in a row. It's a quick game. It should go 20, maybe 30 minutes max. So I could see this game being, you got it and you played it 3 times in a row. And you didn't play it for a month or 2, and then you played it 3 or 4 times in a row again. So I'm going to say thumbs up. Replayability is there. Your keys to victory. I already said it pretty straightforward. You have 6 different categories. Now, you're trying to balance those, but the more you get in a category, the higher its point value goes. So you could decide, I'm all in. I'm going to commit to this particular category, and I'm going to end up really maxing it out and getting max points. But you've got to be sure that when you're doing something like that, you're really paying attention. And there is a balancing act with this. You have to be sure that what you're committing to, you haven't hurt yourself by not committing to other categories, because there are ways to increase overall point values for category A because you were investing enough in categories B and C and D and E. So it is a little tough, but I will give it the thumbs up there. There's options. Unique. Is it unique? No, by no means. There are plenty of roll and writes, and this specifically is one of a trio that comes from the same company that is literally just multiple games of the same concept. So for me, it's not unique at all. It's a big thumbs down. Overall, what do I think? If you are a huge fan of roll and writes, even though this one didn't physically hit for me as well as I would have liked, I'll still say add it to your collection, because if you're a huge fan, it's great. I'm not a huge fan of roll and writes. I enjoy them, and I was just looking for some options. But for somebody who's legitimately, that's like their favorite or second favorite mechanic, add this to your collection. If you're not a massive fan, there are better ones to toss into your collection instead of this. Don't go and pick it up. But that's just my opinion. Maybe this is the exact roll and write you were looking for, and if you're going to have one, this is the one that hits for you. Try and get out there, see if you can get a little bit of eyes on it, whether that be playing it, watching a playthrough, or watching some other reviews on top of mine to get a little bit more of a mix as to what you're looking for. Well, it has been day 149, and we have been speaking about the game That's Pretty Clever. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.